What's going on, Internet? And welcome to another ARFCOM review. Today, we are looking at a firearm analog. This is going to be an interesting conversation for you people that totally don't dry fire and totally should. But this is the ACE Virtual Shooter. It's a really interesting, it's the ACE Virtual Shooting System. It is a dry fire system that utilizes a VR headset. We're going to talk about what that experience was like. We have complaints, we have compliments, and we have potentially really cool future applications for this that is completely available to the public, which I think is mega base, that it's starting grassroots available for everybody. And then I'm sure the military is already like licking their chops like they do for anything that's cool like this. But we will get into the system after a really quick word from our sponsors.
This video is sponsored by TNVC.com. The new Mars LC 2000 meter laser rangefinder is in stock and ready to ship. It's compact and loaded with features including a built-in ballistic computer, Bluetooth, and a red aiming laser, as well as an IR ranging laser which cannot be detected by most night vision devices. Check out TNVC.com for all the details. And by Hydra Weaponry. Their Mark 15 Hydra is the most versatile black rifle platform the industry has ever seen. The most you will ever need to convert calibers is a barrel, bolt, and magwell. Changing is quick and easy, and the combinations are practically limitless. With just one serialized lower, you can have any configuration you can imagine.
So you were stuck with me. I know I talk too much, but you were here with me, Josh. We have Paul, who is going to do his best to not simp for this, but he does love this system.
It's probably going to happen.
And then we have Conor here from ACE. He is here to keep us on the railroad tracks of not speculating. Explain really quickly to them what this is, and we'll get into what it was like to use it.
Great. So thanks for having me on. So ACE combines two elements. One is a virtual reality app made for the MetaQuest VR headset, and a realistic physical handset that has the weight, the trigger, the ergonomics of a gun to give you that full immersion. So what you're holding in your hand feels real, and then what you're looking at through the VR headset with the ballistics, the sight picture, the way the targets are behaving also feels real to just give you an incredible experience.
It is a heavy gun. This is the first thing I noticed. So all of my virtual shooting experience took place in either a arcade or in some really weird projectors in a police academy somewhere. And so very skeptically, I remember picking up this handset and it's weighted, which was the first
Yeah, even knowing that it's weighted, it kind of throws you off. Maybe it's not as heavy as but for example, I think you mentioned on the Staccato, is it the same weight?
It's within about an ounce and a half
Wow.
of the same weight
close.
as the Staccato P for our ACE handset. And you know, it's SLS nylon is what it's made of, but it's vapor smooth to give you that finished product feel. And it's white and orange for safety reasons mainly.
Right,
As you're talking
right.
about, it's not a gun. There's no gun parts in here.
It does have a magazine release. The trigger does reset, does click. It does give you an actual wall.
Right.
Which is very different from a lot of these other, again, if you go to whatever, play Time Crisis or whatever, it just kind of moves.
Mm-hmm. Right. This is definitely, it's made by people that shoot. It's not a video game controller.
Yeah.
The realisms are going for. So it has a wall, has about a 4-pound weight on that trigger. And has the kind of the feel of what your trigger would have to give you that realism so you get those reps.
The magazine does not come out, which is probably for the better in my personal... At first I complained.
Right.
I was like, I want to get the reps for reloading, but then I thought about dropping a mag and then trying to move on a stage. What's weird is you will get a physical magazine that'll fall off.
In the VR.
In the
In
VR,
the
yes.
VR, I spent like a whole minute just tossing magazines.
Oh, we were doing that on top of the controller. You can manipulate the slide. You can press check.
The slide will not reciprocate. Obviously, there's a controller on top of it. There's like a threshold for being able to either press check or load a new round once if you've gone dry, drop your magazine, drop it in, and then rack the slide. You can go through all of those functions if you really
Right.
wanted to. I would consider this dry fire plus. As far as an analog for the actual firearms, there's not going to be any recoil, but my trigger resets without modifying my actual gun. I think especially for people that are running striker-fired guns, that's exactly what it's like to shoot the gun as far as touch points are concerned. You outside of racking your slide, dropping the magazine, hitting the base plate to make sure that your new mag got set, you do have to. I actually tried touching it a few times to see.
And it wouldn't. You
got to give it some love to get it to go in, which is good because that's not developing a training scar.
Right.
In the same way that reaching your magazine release, depending on the thickness of the gun and the size of your hand, if you're having to break your grip to do it, you're having to do it every time as long as you have an accurate analog here.
And it's all physical, right? So they're connected to the controller, so you can't just tap it. You actually have to push
physically
it.
push.
Interaction, right? And the weight of how much weight it takes to press the magazine button should be as close as possible.
Yeah, so I do think from a feedback standpoint, the gun does move. It's not like I've always seen this, and I hated seeing this in like Call of Duty, where they'll make these super trick things where I have like a Galil with 0 recoil. It just kind of sits there. They'll have an AK that doesn't move, and I'm like, it's not. Here, even though I'm not experiencing the recoil, my dot is moving. The gun is if I'm outrunning what my eyes can actually interpret, you're just kind of throwing rounds out range. Or if you're getting very lazy with your presentation, especially within transitions, you'll transition and like, oh, now I'm getting weird or I'm getting lazy with this. And then the optics side of it, which I'll kind of let you cover, was fascinating. The actual headset, shout out to Meta. Normally I have complaints.
I typically would have complaints. So it has a really cool feature where you can cast. So we all got to experience this in tandem kind of a little bit. We'll show you a lot of B-roll in this video that looks cool, but it's flat. You're not really experiencing it like we were. Really one of those you have to try it to really go, wow. For example, you start out in a hut, right? And you can choose your gun. There's a gun bench. You can add optics to it. And then we have skills, thrills, and drills. So the 3 different categories for what type of stage. I believe there's 3 different type of gun ranges you can be on. Yep. So, but once you get out there, I mean, the whole thing. I mean, you have a timer on your belt. Your gun will holster. You can draw it out. It was interesting to me because I figured it would be more gamey. But
yes.
We're talking about the realism of the controller. The realism is also in the actual app. Your presentation, tracking the dot. There's just so much to it that feels completely immersive in a way I didn't expect. Movement, for example, depending on how your location that you're going to be using the app is situated. If you're in a lot of space, if you're in a confined space, that's perfectly fine. You can move around in the VR world with the controller. I really can't emphasize enough how immersive it was, and because of that, I ended up running stages repeatedly. I'll let you jump into, I guess, your first experience with some of the stages or...
Yeah, so I'm a nerd, and so I immediately went into like the drone mode and the zombie mode or whatever, and the first thing was, so the first one kind of flies by you, and you see it, it's very obvious. It's a nice full-size silhouette, just kind of bang. Another one comes by, kind of bang, and then randomly I just like... And I was like, well, what is that? And I had to turn my head, which I've shot at gun ranges, I don't know how many times in my life. And I've gone to actual training where this is live fire, you're doing the thing. And even the most cool of shoot houses, there's typically like, this is kind of a safe direction, or I kind of know targets are going to be here. Having one zip by my head was weird. But I think from a user interface standpoint, this is a much more friendly to even non-gamers. It translated, I'd say, within the first 60 seconds. That I was like, this is the gun, this is how to move. Okay, give me drills.
I'd say the vast majority of our users are first time to VR. Like they're buying a VR headset for ACE.
Yeah.
You know, we go to events and we put someone in a headset and like, wow, it's the first time I've ever done this. Okay, what do? I'm like, just shoot like you always shoot. Like, okay, do what you do. It's just the same thing. And then like, oh my gosh. And then next you know, 20 minutes go by and they're having a great time. So it's cool to see how the skills transfer. We're on the MetaQuest 2 and MetaQuest 3 headsets. And those are available to the public. You know, you can get them on Amazon for $200 for the Quest 2, $500 for the Quest 3. So it's priced and made it a way for consumers, for everybody to get compared to all the other VR headsets out there. But the technology is at the point where it has the frame rate and the resolution that you need to have that realism you're talking about. A lot of people are they'll start out and be like, you know, I think your gun's not sighted in. You're like, you sure? I'm pretty sure about that. And then 10 minutes are like, no, you're right. I make the same mistakes I make in real. I suck at that because I suck in real. No, I pulled that shot like I pulled in real. You know? Yeah. But the same for what you're good at, it'll reaffirm that, and what you need work on, I'll give you that feedback.
Yeah,
I think that the movement being included adds to that level of immersion. You're not on a fixed position just spinning. You're actually moving around in a space. If you're in the zombie house, you can run out of the house if you really wanted to, and then back into the house. Right? There are stages where you have to move up range, around barriers. There's even if you're in a stationary position. We shot the VTAC barrier the first time you showed us how to use it, and you're actually in that physical space. If you're needing to shoot through an angle, don't shoot through it straight. You'll shoot through the wood, right? Like the physical location of the gun in it.
Yeah, I think, and this kind of gets to my second point, I think who would want this? I think the first person that really wants this, I think trainers. It's one thing to talk about sight alignment. It's another thing to watch someone, and watching from the side, you can only get so much. I'm like, I don't know what your eyes are seeing, dog, but clearly you're low left, dog. Like, I don't know what to tell you or whatever. Or you're not seeing your front sight. Being able to cast and actually physically see what's
You're
being
seeing their point
into
of
their
view.
point of
Yeah.
view is wild. And I think also, like, even from a presentation standpoint, I can tell you what you're doing wrong with grip or whatever, and I can kind of maybe see that you're scooping. You could literally record it
Yes.
and then show it back to them like, dude, this is what you're doing. You can address all those things and see them in a more literal sense.
That's right. I don't think it replaces instruction or live fire, but it definitely enhances it.
Yeah.
And it enhances that rate of learning, that rate of feedback, the rate of progress. And it's fun to do, so people are enjoying it and they feel like they want to keep doing it, which is encouraging. So that's how you get better.
I think one of the fun things we talked about earlier was the fact that you can do 360.
Yeah.
Things that you can't normally do. In most situations, people can't shoot in a 360. When you are shooting a stage, it won't let you break 180. If you're not just buying it for personal reasons and you're trying to get some friends maybe into competitive shooting, and you're worried about them breaking 180 and getting kicked out of the match, it's a great way to kind of introduce them as well. So in case, for example, the viewer is worried that they'll get bored of it quick, you said you're adding some new skills.
You've got over 80 drills already. Yeah, every week we add more. We have over 100 different things to shoot, different stages. And the cool thing about it is not only are we adding more content every couple weeks, but there's live leaderboards. Those are packaged together in daily challenges and series of the week. So you can chase that against your performance before, against your buddies. It's broken down the season format as well, where you have standards, bronze, silver, gold, and beyond. The pack timer that you have on you in VR.
Yeah.
So if you want to go through your splits, you can go through your splits like that. So give you that data.
Through your splits. How cool is that? You just sit there and in the digital world.
So there's things that you have a standard you're trying to achieve. You have a way to compare your performance, and there's constantly new content being released.
I do also think kind of the second person that really does. So there's people that are already dry firing, and you guys are out there crushing it, right? But the one big issue with dry fire is it does not move. Typically, in a dry fire scenario, even if you're using the coolest cool fire trainer or whatever it is, you have static targets. The amount of reps you need to get from like, I've never shot a gun before to now I can kind of generally get an A-zone hit at 7 yards. And then the amount of time it goes from, okay, A-zone up to like 15 yards is easy. Now go do the Texas Star consistently.
How expensive is that to do
That's what I was
in
getting
live
at.
fire?
Yeah.
So I mean, I didn't talk about that as well, but you're right. It does have that idea of I can go through lots of rounds, lots of reps, and that repetition of seeing that sight picture, getting a trigger presses is really what gets you to the next level.
Because of those dynamic environments, I found myself consistently shooting a stage and being like, could I do that better? What sequence should I shoot this in?
And I think the visual element to it, and then even like, and you guys were saying that apparently, allegedly, according to the grapevine here, we're hearing it first here, that you're going to have like USPSA saying, hey, if we're going to have a stage here, you're going to get an opportunity to look at it.
Will there be potentially qualifiers?
Yes.
There will be.
Yeah, so stand by. So.
Depending on what range you shoot at, maybe not an indoor range, but if you're a member of an outdoor range that has bays, that you could probably set up those qualifiers. But man, the time that, okay, I got to drive 40 minutes out to the range. I got to set it up. Do I have steel? Do I have paper? Or I could just get up in my living room. Where it really makes a big difference is this is completely mobile. As an example, same thing, demo day. I took it back and I'm telling a couple guys, like, no, you have to try this. You have no idea how immersive. They're like, okay, sure, yeah, maybe we'll come over. And I'm like, it's in the trunk. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, walk on over.
What did I say about him being a disciple of this? He's literally out there.
Well, they needed this, right?
Yeah, that mobility compared to other VR applications. This is completely mobile. It's an immersive experience that you can do anywhere.
So what's available? What are all the things that they can get themselves into now? And then what are our plans for the future?
Yeah, so currently we have 2 physical handsets available. We have what's called the Arctis, which has a lower that's similar to a SIG P320, and then it's got the upper muzzle of kind of a Springfield Echelon. And then we just released is our Ace Scotto P handset, which replicates the frame, the weight, the trigger of a Scotto P. And then on the VR app, we've got over 100 stages and drills and mini games on there right now with the multiplayer, the live leaderboards, all those things. So every couple weeks we're adding more. We're going to add lots of practical shooting stages, but also we get a lot of requests from our users, some law enforcement, some other folks for different skill building drills. So we're putting some of those in there, some of the classics, let's say, some of those popular ones on the market. It's easy to put those kind of drills into VR. We're going to keep adding more of those things to keep it keep it rich, keep it fresh, keep it different. Because it's a live service product. It's a living, breathing community. It's not like, okay, I download this one time, I got the same drill I'm doing over. Like, no, this is living, breathing. We hear ideas from our members. Within a week or two, we can put those things in the game.
Do you have a modding community for this? I know the nerds are going to want to know. Yes.
Yeah, so we've got a really active, engaged community of users on our Discord. They're out there doing mods to the trigger, mag button. They're putting gas pedals on, and it's great to see that enthusiasm. You know, we don't endorse this one or that one, but we welcome that community-generated spirit, and it's great to see.
No, but I think it's cool. We will be sharing a link to all of this stuff. Where can they find this product if they want to get one?
acexr.com, acexr.com. So we're direct to consumer. You can go on there and join ACE. It's a membership program, so you can get access to the VR app on a monthly or yearly basis, and you get all the new content, you get all of it, and then constantly get all the updates added every couple weeks, and then you get your handset, we ship it to you, and you're off and going, and you're in ACE and you're shooting.
Very cool. If you guys want some reps in this or already have some, let us know in the comment section below. I will either talk to you about it because it was cool or argue with you about it because you're probably wrong. But for everybody else, go ahead and hang out. We do look at all of these comments. If you like this type of content, go ahead and let us know there. You can also find us on all of the socials at AR15Com. That is going to be Twitter, Facebook, and X is Twitter, Instagram, for those of you that care. And then if you really want to hear some really cool stuff, always be sure to go check out the forums. AR15.com is where most of people that are smarter than me go hang out. So that's all I got for you guys. Go dry fire, and if you want to dry fire better, go get one of these. This is a pretty cool product.